A 9,000-ton nuclear-powered submarine, armed with heavy torpedoes, suddenly finds itself 2,500 years in the past, facing 800 wooden warships. Yet the outcome was shocking. The pinnacle of human technological killing power was forced to retreat. When a ghostly killer traverses 2,500 years into a shallow water trap, you witness the ultimate technology crushed by the most primitive laws of physics. Xerxes, king of kings of the Persian Empire, sits atop his golden throne, gazing forth down at the sea. The fearless Persian expeditionary force had just burned Athens and was ready to deal the final blow to the Greeks. Thunderous war drums echo across the surface, but 40 meters below, a massive, utterly silent presence lurks. The American Navy's Seawolf-class nuclear attack submarine. A 353-foot black hull hovers in the icy depths. Its nuclear reactor defies the era's laws, pumping out steady, overwhelming power. 8 torpedo tubes hold 50 Mk-48 heavyweight wire-guided torpedoes, all primed and ready. In this ancient ocean, devoid of the mechanical noise of modern freighters or industrial engines, the Seawolf sonar can detect the sound of every wooden oar slicing through the water. To the Persian fleet, this underwater leviathan makes no sound, leaves no trace. It's an omniscient god of death. The first heavyweight torpedo slips silently from the tube, guided precisely by sonar toward the Persian flagship. No alarms, no flashes, only a muffled thunder from the deep. The tremendous underwater pressure instantly tears 2 ships apart. Ships instinctively cluster toward the center, seeking safety, but in doing so, they become even denser living targets. The Seawolf moves like a ghost beneath the waves. Every slight maneuver above spells the end for hundreds of lives on deck. The massacre proceeds smoothly, but as one Persian ship after another splinters and sinks, the atmosphere in the submarine grows tense. The captain stares at the sonar screen, watching the dense wreckage slowly descend, cold sweat soaking his back. This strait, only 40 meters deep, is quietly becoming a steel coffin for the submarine. This massive machine, 130 meters long, displacing 9,100 tons of nuclear-powered steel, now struggles in a water depth of just 40 meters. This is not an evenly matched fight. It's a silent execution ruled by pure physics and mathematics. At 2 a.m., the sea is dead calm. 800 Persian ships line up, the apex of maritime power in their era. Sailors could anticipate enemy movement through subtle changes in wind and current. Yet 40 meters below, a steel giant glides silently at 25 knots. Its acoustic signature is quieter than the natural white noise of waves. Persian lookouts detect nothing. In their dimensional understanding, no threat exists underwater. Inside the submarine, no satellite navigation is required. Pure mathematics and gyroscopes allow precise calculations of each ship's position in the pitch-black depths. The first torpedo is fired. No fire, no cannon report, not even a warning. The Persian command ship at the center doesn't even have time to cry out. It's violently torn apart from below. The explosion and pressure hurl nearby escort vessels into the air. The Persian commanders scream in panic, ordering their fleet to cluster, instinctively attempting to shield each other, but this is the cruelest aspect of a dimensional lowering strike. Their dense formation becomes, on a modern sonar screen, a high-density target list. By dawn, 25 torpedoes have been expended, erasing over 80 Persian warships and their elite crews. Floating wreckage and severed limbs litter the sea. Worse than the explosions is the suffocating silence between strikes. You never know where the next shockwave will hit. You cannot even discern what is hunting you. He may not understand the underwater technology, but he comprehends a lethal, physical law. As more than 80 ships' wreckage sinks like a storm to the seafloor, the narrow strait transforms into a lethal labyrinth. The submarine, having executed a flawless massacre, suddenly finds itself without room to turn. Those Persian sailors who couldn't even scream in the night will never realize that what dragged their men and ships into the deep wasn't Poseidon's wrath, but a 130-meter steel machine, guided by pure mathematics, conducting precision, hunting 40 meters below. It's an unambiguous one-sided slaughter. Yet Xerxes, atop his vantage point at dawn, glimpses the fatal weakness. Observing the randomly erupting vortices on the surface, he quickly draws three conclusions. The threat comes from underwater, it's invisible, and it's trapped in this narrow strait. Water obeys its own rules. Then he issues 3 orders that will utterly transform the battle. The massive Phoenician fleet is connected bow to stern, blocking the strait's 2 ends with anchors dropped. Not to stop the unknown weapon with wood, but to build a living wall of flesh and timber. Paired warships sweep the strait with heavy chains and massive fishing nets, blindly scouring the waters. Every torpedo fired by the sea wolf that sinks a Persian ship leaves behind masts, ropes, and planks. Xerxes doesn't need to pierce the submarine's titanium hull. He uses his fleet's corpses and wreckage to create a dense physical trap. Xerxes' war instinct is terrifying. He transforms a high-dimensional, technological duel into a raw, primitive attrition fight. The sonar screen is now densely covered with red dots. One coarse rope, one tangle of netting, or drifting debris could instantly turn this multi-billion-dollar machine into a motionless coffin. The submarine is forced into a humiliating choice. It must retreat. The massive hull, scraping against wreckage, crawls at a torturous 6 knots, barely exiting the Salamis Strait. Xerxes' 120 ships have forced the beast out of shallow waters, but the battle has now entered a nightmarish dead end. At dawn, the Greek allies gaze at the sea in terror. The steel giant, now freed from the shallow trap, lurks in the deep ocean, tracking every living thing within its domain, unseen by all. Every life and ship Xerxes committed was not to pierce the unknown submarine's armor, but to saturate the water with enough wreckage to choke its operational space. As debris accumulates in the 40-meter depth, the submarine faces not war but the threat of being trapped in a mud and timber death zone. Its hull can withstand deep-sea pressure. Bronze rams cannot scratch its coating. But its Achilles heel, the rear propulsion, is vulnerable. One rope or net caught in the propeller, and the war machine turns into a sunken iron tomb. The captain tries to blast a gap with torpedoes, but explosions only sink more wreckage, creating a dense debris minefield. The Sea Wolf crawls at 6 knots, scraping past floating planks and nets, the hull screaming under friction. Persian sailors on the surface hear the dull metallic shrieks, never realizing what steel leviathan crawls through the mud below. The submarine escapes with 16 torpedoes remaining, retreating to the deep ocean. He has confirmed a terrifying truth. The invisible underwater demon fears the shallow, clogged strait more than any attack. Athens still burns. 680 Persian ships regroup. The nuclear monster now patrols the deep ocean. But the stage has shifted. Control of the strait was purchased with the lives of ancient sailors. Now, if you were at the torpedo control of this submarine facing an ancient tyrant willing to commit 600 ships and tens of thousands of lives, would ever see respectfully? You retreat to preserve yourself, or risk being permanently lost in the debris to annihilate his fleet? Write your choice in the comments. We'll see who the real ruthless strategist is.